Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. So I want to talk about being Black and country, being brought up in the country and speaking differently. Now, we Black Americans live all over this country, and every region has its own culture, its own way of speaking, its own way of behaving, its own way of eating. Even though we are a collective, we understand each other and we can go back and forth with each other, but each region is unique and specific to its own culture. So this guy that I'm going to show you, I don't know if y'all have seen him on TikTok, but I just discovered him a few days ago, and he is funny. And he speaks country. He calls it country. And to give a little context, I grew up hearing people speak like what this guy is speaking. And we were ashamed. We were ashamed of the way our ancestors spoke. We were ashamed of the way the people in our community spoke because they didn't speak English properly. They communicated well, and that's the purpose of language, to communicate. And God did not drop English from the sky and say, master this because this is a superior language, and this is a superior way of communicating. That did not happen. But we know the indoctrination that we have received in America. So it has taken time for us to come to ourselves and to understand that this was our journey and we handled it beautifully. And there's nothing wrong with the way we speak. And there's nothing wrong with the way anybody else speaks either. But your language does not determine your intelligence or your worth as a human being. Having said that, I'm going to share with you this guy who says he speaks country. And I find it hilarious, and y'all know I have a sense of humor. So I'm going to let you hear what he has to say about speaking country.
Today's country word of the day, and wanna. And I'm going to use it in a sentence. I was walking my dog yesterday, and I walked past a group of YNs, and all of them start hollering out, "You better get from around here, old man, before we beat you up." I said, and one of y'all touch me, I guarantee you're going to meet your great-great-great-great-great-grandpa today.
So for anybody who doesn't know, and wanna means if any one of you, or if either one of you. So moving on to number 2.
Today's country word of the day, last, and I'm going to use it in a sentence. So about a week ago, one of my clients called me and told me they needed a real special order and they needed it fast. Well, when you're in the media business, you just gotta handle your customers accordingly and take care of them and get them what they want. So I took the order and I said, no problem, I'll have it ready for you in a week. So I just finished loading up my truck with last one of their items so I can take care of their order. Treat the customer right and your business keeps growing. Call Grand Media when you need us.
So last means every last. Usually it means every last one.
Today's country word of the day, every which way. Now I see everybody in the class getting a little rowdy. Everybody already know, I got you. But y'all know this sentence can go every which way.
Every which way means something has gone awry, and it could go either way, or you could go any way.
Today's country word of the day. It's probably an easy A for a lot of you country bumpkins, but we're gonna do it anyway. Today's country word of the day. Don't you get you? And I'm gonna use it in a sentence. Yesterday, I was a guest speaker at one of the local churches, and my message was on get you some better friends than Job had in the woods. And I was just a talking, and I kind of got excited, and I told the congregation, don't you get your ass lost in the woods with some bad friends like Job. And all the deacons and the preachers start pulling me away from the pew, and they took me in the back room, and I was like, what, did I say something wrong? And so the preacher said, yeah, don't you get your ass in my pew and say nothing like that to my congregation. So we went out, finished the service. Everything was great. Ate really good. It was turkey and dressing, chicken, macaroni, cheese, green beans. Real fine dinner.
So don't you get your means don't you get. Don't you get up there and do that again, or don't you get, or just plain old don't get. But we have to add something in the country, so we say don't you get you. That's how we do it. But anyway, y'all, this is how country people speak. Um, when they say Black Americans don't have a language, you kind of beg to differ, because if you're talking to people and you're using this kind of language, most of the time they're not gonna know what the hell you're talking about. They really won't. You will have to explain to them what you're saying. So one day, my coworker and I were outside with our second graders. This was a middle class school, and our Black children were bussed in from a housing project. So those children didn't always feel like they fit in. So they would play with each other during playtime. So they would get in a new group and they would rap. And this T.I. song was out called You Can Have Whatever You Like. And they could really rap that song. And they were up there just rapping and talking. My white coworker was always fascinated with those children because they were so animated, and they would talk so fast. And this time but they were just rapping, and they were really, and I mean they were getting into it. And they were rapping that song, and I mean they knew every word, and they were right on the beat. They were just going, and they were having a good time. They were having a good time just among each other, rapping and out rapping each other, and challenging each other. And finally, my coworker looked at me laughing. She said, you have to think fast to understand what they're saying. And I said, well, I don't have to think that fast to understand what they're saying. I know exactly what they're saying. And she said, you do? And I said, yes, I do. But such was the language that they were using outside with each other that she didn't really know what they were talking about. So another time, a coworker came to me and asked me what a word meant. And I asked her, how were they using the word in the sentence? And she tried to tell me. And I said, did they say nut? She said, no, it wasn't nuttin'. It had an R in it. I said, oh, they said nurtin'. She said, yeah, that's what it was. So they don't know what Black people are saying. If we don't tell them, if they haven't been around Black people, and if Black people come from a certain environment where everybody around them speaks a certain way, people outside of that community will not know what they're saying most of the time. You almost have to have a translator because people speak fast, then they'll be cutting off ending sounds and making up sounds. And it's perfectly normal for people who have been through what we've been through. With the rise in popularity of AAVE, African American Vernacular English, Black Americans don't seem to be so invested in even learning proper English, especially if you're not in a professional field where you need to know how to speak proper English. These rappers and these ball players and people like that, they don't seem to have any commitment to learning how to speak English properly. If we haven't been drilled into speaking properly and you come from certain environments, people don't know what you're talking about. They do not know. White folk don't know. Now, white people who live around Black people understand it better than somebody on the outside. But people don't know what Black people are saying. So I beg to differ. Black people have a kind of language that nobody understands but Black people from that region. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think about this guy. I think the name of his page is Grand Media, but he has a whole lot of these things, and they're funny to me. So let me know what you think about it, and have a good day.